Elon Musk did a Nazi salute. I don't think he meant it as a Nazi salute. His explanation was that he was giving a sign of "my heart goes out to you," but you still did a Nazi salute. I understand you meant something different, we can all hash that out, but you know how I know that you did a Nazi salute? You physically did a Nazi salute. If what Elon Musk did wasn't a Nazi salute, then Nazis weren't doing a Nazi salute. So it's pretty obvious that the Republicans are using the LA wildfires to beat up on California politics. It's obviously not really the time to do that, though. Red states and Republicans have been able to light up California over the last few years, and I just realized that's not really an appropriate word choice. But they have, with their rampant crime and their lack of desire to prosecute it, their extreme cases of homelessness, their over-the-top COVID policies, and the painful level of bureaucracy that they have that makes it pretty much impossible to get anything productive done. They're like a warmer, sunnier Canada. But maybe just for this one, take a knee. Well, maybe not a knee because that's what America-hating atheist commies do. But at this point in time, where the fires are still burning, you don't need to talk about DEI and their DEI hires. If right after a mass shooting is not the time to talk about gun control, then while LA is still on fire is not a great time to talk about their lesbian fire chief. The lesbian fire chief, by the way, who is on your side. She's the one beating the drum about the lack of resources and cuts to funding. You're on the same side, and I think this is a point where Republicans and lesbians being on the same side, since they are natural enemies, that we should take a pause and really appreciate this moment. But it's not like I'm gonna let Dems off the hook on this one. They do this type of shit too. I just mentioned mass shooters. They can't wait to talk about gun control before the active shooting situation is not an active shooting situation anymore. And if they can link that shooter to Trump or any right-wing politician or right-wing ideology, they will do it immediately. If the shooter writes a manifesto and he mentions Tucker Carlson or immigration, they say, see, this is what right-wing hate is doing to this country. Oh, and if the shooter has any connection to a left-wing ideology, they kind of don't really want to talk about it at all. Every time there's a major hurricane, they start beating the drum about climate change in the middle of it. And they're not talking about climate change in this scenario as if it just exists, like it is a thing that exists within reality. No, they use it to beat up on whoever the Republican governor is because they don't think that he does enough for climate change. Well, what the f*** is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to go over to China and sabotage all of their coal burning plants? And one of the most prevalent ones was that cold snap, the polar vortex, or whatever it was that happened in 2021 in Texas. AOC made a meal out of this for her own political gain because Ted Cruz is the senator of Texas, and he is a big political rival for AOC. Even though he's a US senator, so he's not really necessarily dealing with the local level response, she still managed to make it seem like it was his fault. And again, she used it as an excuse to talk about climate change and renewable sources of energy, all political issues, while people were freezing to death. One thing she did, though, is AOC raised money for the people of Texas. Republicans are talking about either withholding money from California or giving it to them with strings attached. But even in this situation, I don't think that AOC's intentions were truly altruistic. I think that she wanted to give them the money and let them live with the fact that the socialist she/her AOC from New York City had to come down and bail out the red state, red-blooded, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve Texans. So just give them the money, Republicans. And it's okay, I guess, if you want to do that and then imply that the governor and other politicians within California really let their people down. So do all that, but please just let the lesbians fight the goddamn fire. People are jumping all over this pic of Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos' fiance. There is a reasonable, innocent explanation for all of this. He wanted to get a good look at her tits. There was a pretty wild police chase in Toronto last week. It ended with them arresting the guy. Turns out, though, the guy that they arrested had 70 convictions and was out on bail. Now, I know we don't want to be like the States with their extremely long prison sentences or that very infamous 3 strikes and you're outlaw. But maybe we could start a new precedent in Canada. Instead of being looked at as this weak, let everybody go country, it's time to take a stand. Let's use this guy as an example and create the 71 strikes and you're out policy. So keep that in mind, criminals. If you already have 70 strikes, You're officially on notice. Presidential pardons are gross. I'm sure the idea of them is good, but they are no longer used in a good way. Trump should not have pardoned all of the January 6th rioters. There was a case for overzealous prosecution for some of them. And that is exactly what a presidential pardon is for. Correct the wrongs of the justice system. But all 1,500? Some of them did do some shit, man. Was it just like, look, here's the list of 1,500 people. We need to go through this in detail extensively to find out which ones deserve a pardon. 1,500? Nah. Just let them all go. I'm just way too busy right now. I need to sign an executive order making blue the best color. But to all of the left that are criticizing it, you need to understand that no cops were actually killed and about $2 million in damage was done during the riot. During the 2020 mostly peaceful protesters, there was about 2,000 cops injured and over $2 billion worth of damage. So I know that you don't actually care. You are the all cops are bastards people. Now on to Biden's pardons. What Biden did was completely unprecedented and sets a dangerous standard for the future. He pre-pardoned all of his family, Dr. Fauci, and members of the J6 committee. The Democrats have now successfully removed one more high road they can take. Even if Trump used his Justice Department to go after Dr. Fauci, members of the J6 committee, or Biden's family members, there is a justice system in place that would exonerate them if they didn't commit crimes. Pardoning people before they're ever charged with anything is a great way to say these people are guilty as f***. Or was Biden just worried that the justice system can be corrupt and weaponized against your political rivals? That's probably it, because that's what he spent the last 2 years doing. So Biden just realized, whoa, I don't want my family to go through what Trump just went through. That looked downright uncomfortable. Well, Trump got TikTok back. That hurts. If you're a TikToker, you have to thank Donald Trump. Seriously though, the company itself publicly thanked Donald Trump. And the weird part about it is he was the guy who wanted to get rid of it the most during his first administration. But now Elon kind of wants to buy it, so Trump can't ban it, because then Elon will make him sleep on the couch for a month, and every time Trump asks him how he's doing, he'll just be like, I'm fine. It's not worth that bullshit. So there's a bunch of employees that worked on Meghan Markle's podcast on Spotify that claimed that they needed therapy afterwards. Congratulations, you have managed to find people more whiny and annoying than Harry and Meghan. Spotify employees who were traumatized by a podcast. There are prisoners of war who do not complain about trauma as much as progressives in the tech industry do. Everything about Meghan Markle seems like she would just be awful to work for. And these claims made against her do support that. But basically these people that said they needed therapy are just saying that she treated them with contempt if they didn't come up with good ideas, or she talked shit behind their backs, or she was really self-involved. This is not new information, but this was a particular hard year for those Spotify employees, because this was the same year that Spotify signed that huge contract with Joe Rogan, the worst man alive. But this is what's great about it, is that Harry and Meghan were directly compared to that Joe Rogan deal. They were supposed to be the good ones, and turns out they were the biggest pieces of shit. How did you not realize that working with these overindulged fame-f***ing losers was going to be a bad experience? If you didn't get that two people that spent a year slamming their family with unsubstantiated claims of racism released a documentary that was full of exaggerations and outright lies, and had one of the most carefully curated PR campaigns that was orchestrated to make them look like the victims, you don't need therapy. You need to get better at spotting rich